Livelihood, our new initiative that connects Philadelphians with companies like yours. We'll feature your business, open employment opportunities, and resources to connect your company with talent and ensure that you reach your target demographic. To learn more about how Livelihood can help you build your team, visit WURDworks.com. That's WURD works.com. Livelihood is supported by the Nightland Fest's Local News Transformation Fund, Borealis Philanthropies Racial Equity and Journalism Fund, and the Solutions Journalism Network. The WURD Radio Newsletter, keeping you informed, engaged, and connected. Sign up by visiting WURDradio.com. Scroll to the bottom of the page and type your email address under Connect with Us. You'll receive the latest information on WURD Radio, messages from our president and CEO, Sarah Lomax Reese, exclusive articles and multimedia content, and resources. Stay informed with the WURD Radio Newsletter.
Always Best Care is a great place to work.
Flexibility,
leadership, purpose,
great benefits.
There's never a dull moment.
diversity, inclusion, compasión.
We love our jobs. If you're looking for a great place to work, you can join our compassionate Team Green. You can apply online at teamgreenabc.com or call 267-909-9248.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
Now, a traffic update on WURD Radio.
Good morning. This report sponsored by Audible. Volume getting a little busy in spots here in Philadelphia. Southbound 95. Going to find that a bit jammed from Cottman Avenue down through Bridge, through the work zone. Again, Allegheny through Girard. Some slowing northbound side, not bad. Westbound Vine delays 8th out through Broad. Again, Parkway through the Schuylkill Expressway. Schuylkill westbound, busy University through South Street through construction. Now the Turnpike and the Blue Route both looking pretty good. 55 northbound north of Deptford in the 42. A little slow there. Waiting for the perfect reason to join Audible. Here it is, the Audible holiday offer. Get the all-new, all-you-can-listen plan, Audible Plus, for just $4.95 a month for your first 6 months. Listen without limit to select Audible originals, audiobooks, and now podcasts. Go to audible.com. For more traffic information, log on to sigalert.com. Jim Bachman with your Philadelphia area traffic.
It's Wake Up with WURD, hosted by Solomon Jones. Right now on WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
Good morning. This is Solomon Jones on 900 AM, 96.1 FM, WURD, and I want to welcome you back to Wake Up with WURD. So I'm experimenting this morning, Kawesa, because I have coffee beans, right? And my wife bought a coffee grinder where you actually put the coffee beans in and you grind them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hear that it's better that way, though. The coffee supposed to taste better.
Well, so here's the issue. The coffee is stronger.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I made some last night, right? I ground up the beans, right? I'm working all hard grinding up the beans because you got to, it's a hand grinder. So I'm grinding up the coffee beans, and I got my little coffee beans, and I said, okay, well, I'm going to put, 2 tablespoons in to make my coffee like I normally do. But this ain't freeze-dried.
It's the potent stuff.
This is straight from the muscle, straight from the bean. Man, that coffee tastes like battery acid. It was so strong. Because this going to eat through my stomach like it was so this morning. So now I'm experimenting, trying to get the right mix of coffee bean in there. And so let me just try
take a little sip. Take a little sippy sip. Let us know how it tastes. Oh, your face.
Now that's just the heat. That's the heat making.
Oh, okay, I thought.
That's not. It's not bad, but you know what I had to do? We don't have any half and half. My son is like a chef, man. This dude be in here making pasta from scratch and making all kinds, so he needed some heavy whipping cream for something that he was making. So I put a little heavy whipping cream in it.
Okay.
Just a little bit. It's not bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's not bad. I used about half as much of the bean that I normally would use to make my coffee. So it's not bad, especially with the little bit of heavy whipping cream in it. You know what I mean? Just enough, to knock the edge off. But that's not the flavor this time, Kawhi. So that was the heat.
Okay, good. I was like, oh no, it's awful.
Yo, y'all gotta watch on Facebook, man. This is crazy. So 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. Let's go to Veronica from West Philly. She's online too. Go ahead, Veronica.
Good morning, Solomon.
Good morning.
And Clarissa. That straight up coffee is going to send you straight out of here.
I was run out the door, start running down the street.
You're going to be running down the street after a while. What I was calling about is, if you remember, a couple of months ago, I called because I watch a lot of things, and Michael Cohen said that it was a cult. It's a cult, and it's the truth. And all I want to say is, we better just be on our P's and Q's, because they know telling what's get ready to jump off, and they all want to drink the juice. That's all I'm going to say. Mm-hmm. Have a good day.
All right, you too, Veronica. I appreciate your call this morning on WURD Radio. If you want to get in, it's 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That is the number that you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD Radio, and let us know where you are on these various things we are talking about on this morning's show. So we want to hear from you. You can certainly weigh in also on Facebook at onWURD. That's FORWURD, FORWURD. Kawesa, what are they saying this morning on Facebook?
All right, so I'm pulling up a few here. So one that I'm seeing is Gail Robinson is saying, real talk, zombies for 45. So that's one comment. Steph Michelle is saying, cult is absolutely the right word to use, Solomon. It's insane. Good morning to Rovetta Everett Gilmore. Also, good morning to Atia Hicks. And then Zen Motley says they are missing the King Cotton days. Good morning, Word family. Right on. So that's another comment. And then also we have Steph Michelle saying they, the white supremacists, will show them better than they can tell them. And then calling, some of those folks Sambos, who black folks who support Trump. And then we also, I lost it here. Okay, here we go. And then Steph Michelle says, just add a little bit at a time, like when you cook, talking about the coffee. So that's another comment that we have here as well. A couple people are laughing. Love your facial expressions. That's what Atia Hicks is saying there as well. So, yeah, a lot of folks weighing in. Good morning to Sandra Fields as well. Thank you so much for tuning in this morning. Yep, those are our comments.
But that just goes to show you that the stuff that you normally drink, that stuff ain't fresh. That stuff been stored. It's been stored for like a year. All the flavor gone out of it. You know what I mean? You think you're doing something? Nah. Grind up some coffee beans and put it in your coffee maker and see what happens. Boy, you better put about half as much. You better put about half as much, because the flavor is so bold out of just a fresh bean. It's just a whole different thing, a whole different experience. So I want to hear from you. Give us a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. Of course, the other thing that's happening is supposed to be a snowstorm in a couple of days, and I want to know if y'all running to the market. Are you running to get eggs? Are you running to get milk? Are you running to get bread? Are you okay? Do you have enough? And you know what's deep? I think that's kind of a holdover from the days when, if it snowed, you really were kind of in the house for a couple of days while your community dug out. It's not even like that now. You dig out in a day. You know what I mean? But people act like they're going to be, it's snowing, we're going to be in the no weeks. It's like, nah, no, you're not. No, you're not. So the behavior it's interesting to watch, Kawhi. So what do you think?
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. And I think the other piece, too, that, you're right. What we have to think about is the fact that, you didn't have even like the same access to stores and things like that as back then as we do now. And so I think, though, that we are all kind of, really ingrained in thinking that, oh my gosh, the store's going to close, something's going to happen, when, really, in all honesty, we got all these, 24-hour stores. That wasn't even a thing necessarily when I was a kid. Those 24-hour, big supermarket stores kind of just started popping up, more recently for us, at least, on our end. And so I think that it's kind of just a carryover from what we experienced before, because, we couldn't get out. You didn't have all these, plows and things that were going to get you out. You had to use a lot of manpower to take shovels and shovel out. But now, we don't really have that anymore. And so, but I do think that people are just kind of carrying that over from previous days or days of yesteryear.
How about that? So I want to hear from you. Give us a call, 215-634-8065. What are you doing to get ready for the snowstorm? I think it's supposed to come on Wednesday, and so we'll see what happens with that. And also, are you watching what's happening around the election? The electors are going to cast their votes today to make it official. Joe Biden, the president-elect. And are you watching what's happening around that? Also, the vaccines are being distributed beginning today. Healthcare workers are going to get it. People in nursing homes, as well as the staff in nursing homes. But you know who else is going to get it first? The White House staff. What do you think about that? 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. They should be last. Y'all the one out here telling people don't wear masks and don't worry about it. It's going to go away like a miracle. It'll be gone by Easter. Go head back to church. Open up all the businesses. Go back to school. You the one made it spread. Y'all should get it last. That's what I think. But I want to hear from you. Tanya from South Philly is on line one. Go ahead, Tanya.
Hey, good morning. That was a perfect segue to what I wanted to talk about. Seeing that the messages that they put out there were dishonest. My thing is that COVID should be something that supports reparation, because we did not, when I say we, I mean African American, didn't travel to China and bring it over here, nor were we the students studying abroad. And it has devastated our community. So I feel like that should be something that supports reparation.
How?
And that's what we have to say.
How, Tanya? How should it support reparations?
Well, the fact that we're suffering so bad from something that we didn't cause. This is not even as prevalent in Africa. And I think I'm sensitive about it because where I live, I get a lot of looks where people pull their masks up once they see me as a black person. And, you know, we've been watching it. It's a couple of us that see them doing that, white people doing it. They'll pull their masks up.
They got a lot of nerve.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, we're dirty. Now, mind you, I'm in out there in my mask all the time. I knew about this back in February. I warned my community about it because I used to watch the BBC. And they look at you like you're dirty and you brought it over here. But we didn't. And look at how we suffered as a people. So I think that because of this, they should look at reparations for us. And this right here should support reparations. And as far as the vaccine is concerned, yes, I am going to take it.
Okay. I hear you. I hear you, Tanya. And I want to thank you so much for your call this morning on WURD Radio. So what she's saying is that it should be yet another reason that we should receive reparations. Okay, I get it. So I want to hear from you. Give us a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That is the number that you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD Radio. The vaccine, it's going to be here in Philly, I think, tomorrow. The first doses are scheduled to arrive here in Philadelphia. And so are you ready? You know, it's not like the community at large is going to get it first. It's first going to go to hospital workers, those in long-term care facilities, as well as those who work in those facilities. But when it's time, are you ready? I want to know what you think. Give us a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That is the number you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD Radio. And let us know where you are on these various things we are talking about. on this morning's show. 215-634-8065 is the number that you can call to get in. You can, of course, also weigh in on Facebook at 4WURD. Kuwaisa, what are they saying this morning on Facebook?
A few more comments that we have here. Shalata C.A. Sankofa says, good morning, blessings, Brother Solomon, Sister Kuwaisa, beloved Lomax family, WURD members, listeners, and special guest speakers. So good morning right back to you. And then we also have here a couple folks weighing in. Janelle Allen says, people have PTSD from previous snowstorms. Remember blizzard of 96 in the house for a week. I do remember that. Yeah. Ooh, I was only 10 when that happened, but it was a little scary. It was. But a lot of snow. Sledding. We did a lot of sledding, and that was fun. I remember that. Phyllis Williams, good morning to you as well. And also we have here Gary Q. Hines saying 96 was no joke. Then Mike Christian, good morning to you as well. And then Gary Hines also says 45 won't get it. He's a pumpkin chief. So that's another comment as well in regards to the vaccine. But yep, those are a few of our Facebook comments this morning.
All right. But 3 feet of snow, that was the blizzard of 96. That was 3 feet. We talking 5 to 8 inches. So it's like, I don't know, man. But I hear you. I guess we think all of them going to be like that. But we're going to go to break. On the other side, we are going to talk with City Controller Rebecca Reinhardt. She's got a new report out on the Philadelphia Parking Authority. So we're going to talk with her on the other side. I'm Solomon Jones. We'll be right back.
This year's been tough, but it's given me a lot of time to learn new skills through the internet.
I've been joining more classes during lockdown.
I'm doing an internship.
I taught myself how to play guitar.
So when people ask,
will I be able to learn online?
I feel like I'm ready.
Internet Essentials from Comcast has connected millions of families from low-income homes to the internet. So no matter what back to school looks like, students can be ready for anything. Learn more at comcast.com/Internet Essentials.
This message is from the Philadelphia Department of Public Health. COVID-19 is still a threat in our communities, but we can all do something simple to help stop the spread. It's critically important to wear a mask or face covering whenever you're in public or around others. Yes, even while social distancing. Wearing a mask shows you care for yourself and your community and is essential to slowing the spread of COVID-19. So love yourself, love your neighbors, wear a mask.
WURD Radio presents the following wellness tip to support our listeners with mindfulness and motivation as we continue to navigate the pandemic together.
Hi, this is Halana, your resident health and wellness coach, with tips to help you stay well. By definition, inspiration is something that gives us new and creative ideas. We often believe that we only need inspiration when we have a goal or a project in mind. However, getting inspired can be easy with a little practice. Try this. Number 1, write down exactly what you truly desire in your life. Number 2, think about solutions to hurdles and challenges you face. Number 3, think about the next best step in your current situation. Staying inspired requires thought, intention, and space to be creative. In fact, allowing inspiration to be present in our lives is something we can practice every day. Go ahead and try. Stay well with WURD. Happy living.
Stay well with WURD. Connect with us at WURDradio.com.
Family caregiving can be rewarding and challenging. Family and friends are the backbones of America's care system for older Americans and loved ones to live at home. African American family caregivers care for a loved one for an average of 5 years and help with medical and nursing tasks for over 30 hours a week. But now, caregiving may be harder than ever. AARP has information and online communities of other caregivers. Learn more at aarp.org/caregiving.
Wishing you and yours the very best this holiday season from the entire WURD family. This is WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia. Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app. Progressive and proud. Independent Black Media. Now, a traffic update on WURD Radio.
Good morning. This report sponsored by Audible. Volume getting a little busy in spots here in Philadelphia, southbound 95. Going to find that a bit jammed from Cottman Avenue down through Bridge, through the work zone, again, Allegheny through Girard. Some slowing northbound side, not bad. Westbound volume delays 8th out through Broad, again, Parkway through the Schuylkill Expressway. Schuylkill westbound, busy University through South Street through construction. Now the Turnpike and the Blue Route both looking pretty good. 55 northbound north of Deptford and the 42, a little slow there. Waiting for the perfect reason to join Audible. Here it is, the Audible holiday offer. Get the all-new, all-you-can-listen plan, Audible Plus, for just $4.95 a month for your first 6 months. Listen without limit to select Audible Originals, audiobooks, and now podcasts. Go to audible.com. For more traffic information, log on to sigalert.com. Jim Bachman with your Philadelphia area traffic.
It's Wake Up with Word, hosted by Solomon Jones.
Good morning.
Right now on Word Radio.
96.1 FM.
And 900 AM WURD.
Good morning. This is Solomon Jones on 900 AM, 96.1 FM, WURD. And our next guest is Philadelphia City Controller Rebecca Reinhardt. She's got a new report on the Philadelphia Parking Authority. Controller Reinhardt, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
Yep. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Yeah, pretty good.
All right. No, that's good. So, what is going on with the parking authority? I know they're supposed to be giving money to schools. That has been an issue for years. Where are they with that, and why are they where they are with that?
Yeah. So, just by way of a little background, my office decided to do an audit of the parking authority when I came to office in 2018, and it took a little bit of time to get it done. Because of these issues you're talking about, because of a lot of the press reports about patronage, about jobs going to those that are connected, and wanted to see really what was going on with their expenses, because every dollar that the parking authority spends is a dollar that doesn't go to the schools, and that's the way the formula works, by which the money goes from the parking authority to the city, the first $35 million, and then the remainder goes to the district. So I wanted to look at that, and so the audit came out last week, and what we found is troubling. I mean, we found that we looked at the parking authority's workforce compared to other parking authorities around the country, and we found that the workforce is inflated. There are parking authorities with much lower employee levels for the same number of metered spaces. For an example of that, so the parking authority has about 650 employees to handle 15,400 spaces. For example, Portland has 111 employees to handle 14,000 spaces. So there's some workforce inflation, definitely, compared to some other parking authorities. And we also found that management salaries continue to be high. So the Auditor General in 2017 came in and did an audit of the parking authority. And one of the findings of the State Auditor General was that management salaries are too high and to rein them in. So we specifically looked at this in this audit to see if there had been progress, and in fact, the management salaries continue to be high and continue to get increases. This is really not right, to put it bluntly. I think when we looked at management salaries versus other parking authorities around the country, we found that they were paid above most other, about 80-some% of management salaries in other parking authorities were paid less than Philly when adjusted for cost of living. And we also, though, and this is even, I don't want to say more important, but this is very striking, that the parking enforcement officer, the PEO, the job of actually doing the work on the street is actually paid the least compared to other parking authorities. So what you have is the executive director is paid the most of any of the parking authorities, and the parking enforcement officer is paid the least. So that's problematic to me, and it should be problematic, I think, to them as well, that when you have that wide disparity between the workers and senior management, it's a problem. And then we also found that we did a sampling of employees to see how prevalent political connection was to getting a job. And we found that about 23% of the employees sampled either were a committee person or ward leader or lived with them. So 23% actually were either someone that was elected or lived with someone that was elected. So that doesn't even account for people that know someone in the parking authority or extended family. So we really found a lot of problems here, and there was some improvement, I would say, around the edges of things from 2017. Parking Authority has made an effort to post many jobs online and advertise for jobs, but we also found that didn't extend to the hiring of the executive director, that the executive director hiring process, they in fact hired someone, while he might be very qualified in some way, did not meet the job qualifications that they posted for the executive director. So we found some improvement in their procurement and how they purchase things. We only found problems with 1 of 5 procurements. So there's some improvement, but in general, this is still an authority where much money could be saved, more money could be given to the schools, and there's still this connection, this entrenchment that needs to be disrupted, in my opinion.
We're talking with City Controller Rebecca Reinhardt. Her office did an audit on the Philadelphia Parking Authority and found that many of the jobs are as a result of political patronage, and that they have high administrative costs there. Now, my impression is that the parking authority decides what their administrative costs are, and then they, as you said, give money to the city, and then the school district is last in terms of who gets paid. So do they just decide, well, these are our administrative costs, and here's what's left over. You can get this. Is that how it works?
I mean, pretty much, which is the part that's shocking, is the parking authority was taken over by the state in the early 2000s, and there's a board that governs the parking authority. We did find some issues just with the board not having detailed responsibilities. But there is a board, but the way that it's set up, all of the meter revenue that people pay and ticket revenue that people pay goes straight to the parking authority. It doesn't go through the city, so it doesn't require the city or the state, for that matter, to approve its budget. So therefore, the parking authority gets all of the meter and violation revenue and then decides what its budget is. And so what you just said is accurate. It decides what its administrative expense is. It decides what its operating expense. And then what's left over, the first $35 million plus a small increase every year goes to the city, and the remainder goes to the schools. So while they tout an increase to the schools, and there has been an increase from about $10 million to $16 million to the school district over the past few years, it's still nowhere near where I believe it should be. And there really isn't accountability, and that's the problem. There's truly no accountability. And so I did look at, well, how do we change this? I mean, my call to action was to the Parking Authority Board to rein in management expenses, to look at, as attrition occurs, as people retire, to look to see which jobs are necessary, which aren't, so that there's more money to go to the school district. But in reality, it should eventually go back under city control, because the city should have control over it, and then the city could make decisions around its budget. But in order for that to happen, either the board has to vote to dissolve itself, which is unlikely, or the state legislature needs to send the parking authority back under city control, which is a big lift because it's state legislation. It's not impossible, but it's a lift. And it's even a bigger lift when you think of all the political connections that the parking authority has. I mean, the parking authority gives out jobs. It's Republican controlled, but it gives out, there's patronage jobs to Democrat and Republican people. So I think that it's very difficult to change something when there's so much benefit to those, the people that are in power. And in fact, my office's decision to do this audit was, the previous controller did not want to do an audit of the parking authority without a resolution passed from city council because of there's a lot of pushback. To me, that's the purpose of why I'm elected, is to disrupt things and to stand up for people. So, I'm going to keep pushing on this, but there really isn't accountability. I mean, to me, the public, being able to say this to the public, this is the situation, and the public, needs to be vocal and push for this with me. And I think, eventually change will happen if enough of us stand up to it. But it doesn't come easy, definitely.
We're talking with City Controller Rebecca Reinhardt. Her office did an audit on the Philadelphia Parking Authority. The Philadelphia Parking Authority is under state control, and so the state decides, I guess, what happens with the parking authority. Does the state get any money from the Philadelphia Parking Authority?
The state gets money from certain operations, but not from what's called on-street parking. So on-street parking is all of the metered spots and all the tickets. So that the state gets money from red light camera, but that wasn't part of my audit. My audit was just on on-street parking, which is all the metered meter money and ticket violation money. So the state doesn't get money. What the state gets is the governor gets to appoint who's on the board, but they're long term, and they have to come with recommendations from the state house and state legislature. So the benefit to the state of having it is just having a place where there's political connection and patronage running it.
Yeah, they get power through being able to give people jobs.
Right. And that's what, and I think there should be a bigger outcry from the city level, from everyone in power at the city level. But, the giving out of jobs has extended all around, right? So there hasn't been, one thing I've learned from being in office, it's my first time holding office in this my job right now. It's my first time holding office, and one thing I've learned is that the entrenchment of power is real, and in order to disrupt it, it needs things to be put out in the public, and then voices to really push on it. So that's what I'm trying to do, but I don't want anyone to say, oh, this is so ridiculous, we should give up, because we just have to push harder and fight harder.
And so this is it the governor or is it the state legislature that has the power on who gets on the board of the parking authority?
So the legislature has to give recommendations, and the governor can pick from the recommendations, but the terms are on the longer end, so it's not like Governor Wolf could just come in and appoint, an all-new board. So there are those that are appointed from Republican governors as well as Democratic governors on the board. And Governor Wolf I mean, to his credit, he did call for the state, for the parking authority to go back under city control. He expressed his support publicly for that back in 2017, but without legislation going through, it's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm. And that legislation would have to come from the state legislature.
That's correct.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, so the board terms are 10-year terms, so that's...
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. So they're long, and that's part of what makes this such an intractable issue, is that the terms are really long, and so the power... I mean, I think there's a lesson learned here in terms of board structure, is that there should be term limits, or, this is just, there's issues all around with this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, is there a way to determine how much money should be going to the school district?
That's a great question, and I would answer this way: a lot more than they're currently going. I wouldn't give a specific amount, because I think that, for example, we found, as I mentioned, the workforce being inflated. Well, that's something that is going to happen over time. The workforce could be reduced. I wouldn't argue for, a sudden reduction in workforce, right? So, but it's over time. It's tens of millions of dollars over time. And there's other things also that the audit points out, such as Philadelphia is not using what's called LPR mounted vehicles. I learned so much about parking from this. So LPR is license plate recognition. And the way it works is it gets mounted on the top of a car, and then the parking enforcement officer would drive through the city streets, and it just logs in anyone that's over their meter time, instead of having to do everything by foot. So there's technology that other places around the country are using that would also make the operation more efficient and be able to send more money to the schools. And I think right now, especially with the pandemic and the impact on the city's budget and school district's budget, that we have to look at everything and say we need, as a government, to run as effectively as possible so that every dollar can go where it's needed.
Yeah, well, if they use that technology, then that would mean that they would need less workers, and that would mean they would have fewer patronage jobs to give out, and therefore less power.
Correct.
Okay. So how much
and
money?
That's why it's hard to disrupt, right?
Right.
But I think even the act of my office doing the audit and putting it out there and talking about it is more disruption than happened a few years ago. And I know that's not, sometimes I want change right away, right? I want to say, let's just do this. But when power's involved, it's a long fight, But maybe you can figure out, maybe you can help me, Solomon.
We'll see. We'll see.
How to lead a peaceful revolution on this thing, right?
Something's got to happen, because what is the total amount of money that they bring in from the parking?
So they bring in on-street parking revenues are about fiscal 18 was about $138 million.
$138 million. $16 million of that went to the school district.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they spend about $93 million on their expenses, and that's what I'm talking about. That's where the savings could be, right? And to me, the fact that senior management positions are getting cost of living adjustments when you're making, $180,000, $200,000 a year and getting a COLA, you don't need a cost of living adjustment when you make that. In my opinion, when you make that much, you know what I mean? I mean, people who are making less, yes, absolutely need a cost of living adjustment as inflation goes up. If you're making 50, 40, but there is just, this is the type of thing that really needs focus on to say this needs to change. And I will say that since this audit came out at the end of last week, there's been a lot of people bringing it up on social media and other ways to say, hey, as we enter the next budget cycle with the school district budget, we need to look at this because this is, the last thing we need is the government needs is to ask people to pay more tax while there's money being wasted, right? So
exactly.
I think that this needs to stay on the front burner so that we keep bringing it up as we enter the budget process.
So where can we see a copy of the report? Where can we go online to check it out?
Sure, it's at controller.phila.gov, controller.phila, PHILA.gov. This audit and all the other work of my office is there. Would love to hear from people. We also have something on our website where if the public wants specific information on something or has a question, you can send in either anonymous or with your name on a form right on our website, controller.phila.gov. And we do a lot of transparency, releasing information based on what we get from the public. So we absolutely would love to hear from everyone.
All right. That is City Controller Rebecca Reinhardt. Her office is in charge of doing fiscal watchdog work, really, over city agencies and quasi-city agencies in the city of Philadelphia. Rebecca Reinhardt, thank you so much for joining us this morning on WURD.
Oh, thanks for having me. Talk to you soon.
All right. We're going to go to break. On the other side, we're going to continue the show. I'm Solomon Jones. We'll be right back.
COVID-19 affected many things this year, including regular vaccinations. Vaccines are safe, effective, and protect against serious diseases. Make sure you and your family are up to date on all vaccinations. Together, we can keep each other safe and healthy. Let's stay protected together. Get vaccinated today. For more information, visit health.pa.gov. Paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars.
Listen to Laborers Live.
We created the weekend. We created the 40-hour work week. We just want enough to feed our family, be able to send our children to college, and let our next generation do better than we did.
To people that might have forgot how important unionism is in the country like the United States. People now infringing on our 8-hour workday, trying to work people more than 8 hours without overtime, trying to work people without benefits. In the long run, everybody's getting a fat paycheck except the worker. So this is really a wake-up call for America.
The struggle is continuous. Tune in to Laborers Live every Friday from 4 to 5 p.m. Sponsored by LESIT, the Laborers Employers Cooperation Education Trust of the Laborers District Council of Philadelphia and vicinity.
Local 332, Sam Staten Jr. Business Manager. Local 57, Esteban Vera Business Manager. Local 135, Dan Woodall Jr. Business Manager. Local 413, James Harper Jr. Business Manager. The Laborers District Council, Ryan Boyer Business Manager, and Tony Staten, Executive Director of LESIT.
The onWURD Podcast. Check out the latest edition of the onWURD Podcast. Join WURD President and CEO Sarah Lomax Reese as she hosts a special 4-part series, 2020 in Black. From the pandemic to the global protests against systemic racism to the 2020 election, the onWURD Podcast celebrates the full humanity and complexity of Black people in this pivotal year. Listen right now using your favorite podcast service or visit wordradio.com/2020 in Black. You can also ask your favorite device to play onWURD 2020 in Black. Now, a traffic update on WURD Radio.
Good morning. This report sponsored by the Exergen Temporal Scanner 95 southbound. Still busy from Cottman down through Bridge through the ongoing construction again from Betsy Ross through Girard. A little slow northbound 95. Not a bad ride. Westbound Vine slow 8th out through Broadigan Heavy Parkway through the Schuylkill Expressway. Schuylkill westbound, you are jammed up from Vera Avenue through South Street through that construction. Eastbound side, not too bad. PA Turnpike, Blue Route 476, still looking pretty good this morning. 55 northbound, Deptford in the 42, a bit slow. Don't take chances with COVID-19 and your family's health. Use the Exergen Temporal Scanner to check temperatures before dinner and before you leave home. Takes an accurate reading in seconds and is the #1 thermometer recommended by hospitals, doctors, and nurses. Stay safe with Exergen. For more traffic information, log on to sigalert.com. Jim Bachman with your Philadelphia area traffic.
You're waking up with WURD, hosted by Solomon Jones.
Good morning.
Right now on WURD Radio,
96.1 FM
and 900 AM WURD.
morning. This is Solomon Jones on 900 AM, 96.1 FM, WURD, and I'm going to welcome you back to Wake Up with Word. Our guest for this segment has canceled for personal reasons this morning, and so we have more time to take calls from you. 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That is the number you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD Radio. Let us know where you are on these various things we're talking about on this morning's show. So you heard from Rebecca Reinhardt. The Parking Authority gives out tickets, right? Charges money for the garages, etc., and they make about $138 million from that. They give $16 million of that to the school district, which is about 11.59%, right? And so they give us crumbs. That really is the bottom line. They give $35 million to the city off the top. They give $16 million to the school district. They're making $138 million, and their executives are making top dollar as compared to parking authorities around the country, right? They give out thousands of patronage jobs when they could use automation in order to make it more convenient, make it more, and make it cost less. But then they wouldn't have as many jobs to give out, and they wouldn't have as much power. So that is it pretty much in a nutshell. But the other thing is this, that the state legislature decides, gives the governor a list from which he can nominate the board members of the parking authority, right? And so they serve 10-year terms, though. So he's got to pick from this list that comes from the state legislature. How does that screw Philadelphia? Well, here that is in a nutshell, too, right? Most of the people in the state legislature are not from Philadelphia. And so these are people from other places deciding who can be on the board of a parking authority that operates within the city of Philadelphia, and giving them 10-year terms to go in there and decide, okay, this is how much we bring in, this is what our budget is going to be in here. Here's 11% for your schools. I want to know what you think. Give me a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That is the number you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD Radio. And you wonder why the schools look the way that they do. You know what I mean? So you got the parking authority doing that. Then you got a tax abatement, right? That you give the money away to developers and the people who buy the houses, and they get 10 years where they don't have to pay property tax on the part of the property that's worth the most, the structure, the house, right? And so that money, 55% of that money that you're giving away to these folks is supposed to go to the schools. Then you got a school board in Philadelphia that is appointed by the mayor and has no taxing authority, so they can't raise money for themselves. They get what the city and the parking authority gives them, and the state. So therefore, if you're wondering why the schools still have asbestos in them, if you're wondering why the schools are old and falling apart, if you're wondering why they don't have librarians or libraries or books, this is why. I want to hear from you. Give me a call. 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065 to have a parking authority in place that is run by people who do not live here, do not represent us, and are not accountable to us. They're elected, but most of them are elected by other people who live in other counties. They give the governor a list. These are the people that you can consider for the board. The governor then picks from that list, and the people serve 10-year terms. So there's no accountability. You can't remove them. There's no accountability. So they give you what they want. Here, man, here's 11.5%. Now shut up. Here's a crumb. Be quiet. That's where we're at with the Philadelphia Parking Authority. And, we should be outraged. I'm be honest, we should be outraged. I remember some years ago, Helen Gim tried to determine how much the parking authority owed us, but if they are making up their budget as they go along, if they are deciding what their administrative costs are, and then saying, oh, well, this is our cost, and so This all we can give y'all, 11.5%. And that's more than they were giving us, because they were giving us $10 million for the schools. Now it's 16, but it's a crumb. That's a crumb. If it's the Philadelphia Parking Authority, why does it not benefit Philadelphia? Now, the city gets $35 million. They can do whatever they want with that money, right? But if the schools are only getting $16 million, then what you're saying is that our kids aren't important, and the money that you are supposed to be giving to the schools, well, yeah, it's just a crumb. I want to know what y'all think. Give me a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. Melissa Robbins is on line 1. Go ahead, Melissa.
Good morning, Solomon. Good morning, Quaisa, and thank you for having the controller on. This helps clear up a lot. So what I hear is essentially Philadelphia families and children are being called crumb bums. That's what I hear. Because if you look at it like this, the money that comes from the red light stops. Okay, so that's $100. Do you know that money goes to the state and counties get to bid on that for grants? We don't even get that in Philadelphia. So, in other words, white men continue with the white supremacy and the control of the purse of Philadelphia. There's no money invested in us, and they also allow white men to shake us down and harass our kids when our kids aren't learning because they're not allowed to be to learn because they're not getting the money and the resources, and we have gatekeepers that stand by and allow this to happen. So what I hear is a bunch of white men from around the state are literally keeping us in poverty, and our leaders are standing by and allowing it to happen. And this has been going on forever. Up until Controller Rebecca Reinhardt, we never heard from our former controller telling us anything. We never heard from anything. So I'm grateful for people like her who come on and expose it. I'm grateful for the leaders that we do have that are making things much more understandable and transparent. I'm also grateful for you, Solomon, for continuously putting this in our faces and making this, understandable in layman's terms. So, yeah, we're being robbed blind, and not to mention if you get your car confiscated. So thank you so much. We've got to put a stop to it. It's the people who must raise their voices and demand more from all of our electeds and our legislators. And when they don't perform, elect them out.
I hear you, Melissa, and I want to thank you for your call and thank you for your kind words. Of course, we got to thank Quaisa, who's making sure that we get this information and these guests because she is phenomenal. So I want to hear from you. Give me a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That is the number you can call to get in on the conversation. Let's go to Gail from the Northeast on line 2. Go ahead, Gail.
Good morning, Solomon and
Good morning.
That saying that Malcolm X countered, or when you heard it say, "Get your hands out my pocket," this is their way of keeping their hands and reaping the benefits and holding nobody accountable in Philadelphia, because they are literally, they take the money, but yet they'll call our schools terrible and everything else, knowing that they're robbing you of that revenue, but they don't care. And I think that the children suffer, and they don't care, because this is all a part, and you have to say it, of racist and, like she said, keeping white supremacy alive, because it's no way that you can say anything different when we don't even have people of color. We know that the state legislature is filled with Republicans dominating in every aspect, and they don't want to give Philadelphia anything. So you have to really think about this when people say, "Oh, well, we got all these taxes." They make sure that any tax that we get, it goes to the state, and they put all kinds of amendments on it so they can get more money. So we have to really think about this. Oh, my goodness. Thank you, Solomon.
Yeah, it's deep. It's deep. You're welcome. Let's go to Shaquille from the Northeast on line 3. Go ahead, Shaquille.
Good morning, Solomon. How are you doing? Good morning, Queen.
Good. How are you?
First of all, I want to say the children are supposed to be the future. How can they be the future when they don't have the proper tools to succeed in life? Like these taxes are going to different parts of the city, but they're not going to the schools, and that's what I got to say about it.
All right. Well, I want to thank you for your call this morning on WURD, and of course, many people weighing in on the parking authority on Facebook, you can do that, of course, at ForWord. That's FORWURD, FORWURD. Kawesa, what are they saying this morning on Facebook?
You're right. So we do have quite a few folks weighing in on the parking authority. Leslie Cook says, Solomon, I appreciate you shedding light on this topic. What can we Philadelphians do to demand a change? I'm outraged to learn of this. So that's one comment. Tina Marie Russell is actually, first Tia Dreyer is saying PPA officers should receive hazard pay, but then Tina Marie Russell says, yes, the parking authority does not support the workers who are low-income entry-level jobs. That's another comment. Deborah Dorn Carter is saying, as voters, we need to do some house cleaning. Also, with the parking authority, the city would be represented by people who live in the city, no outsiders. That is why, as residents of the city, we need to get more involved. They tried to set up black and brown people to fail. And then Diane Fassett says, and the mayor knows all this. He continues to lie and say he cares about our children to our face and continues to try and bilk us for raising our real estate taxes while he continues with these soda taxes and other taxes. Everyone knows how crooked Philly is. People in other states shake their heads and wonder why we the people here put up with this. Why do we? And then also we have a Tia Hicks. Parking authority should be ran by the city. They wonder why school buildings look like crap and no matters for proper education. Ridiculous. So quite a few folks weighing in. Landis Rowe is saying, good morning, Solomon, Queen Kawesa, and Word family. Philadelphia is the largest, poorest city in America, and yet we are the state's cash cow. They are sucking us dry. No wonder we can't claw our way out of poverty. Systemic racism. So those are just even more comments. Delilah Levister, definitely crumbs. So everyone's, kind of weighing in here on the parking authority.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I got to think about it, man, and especially like in this atmosphere, I got to think about what we can do, right? And what a strategy might be around this, because this is ridiculous. But the way that it's set up, and I need y'all to understand that this is a system, right? And the way that it is set up is that you have people who are not elected by us, right, making the decisions on who can be on the board. So if the state legislature gives the recommendations to the governor, and the governor chooses from that list, while the state legislature is essentially deciding who can be on the board of the parking authority. And again, they are elected county by county. So most of them are not from Philadelphia, and therefore we cannot vote them out. I just need y'all to be clear on that, right? That most of the people in the state legislature are there from other counties. We're only one of 67 counties in the state. And so if the state legislature is making the decisions as to who the governor can put on the board, then we can't vote those people out of the state legislature. So there's no accountability there. If when the governor appoints them, they serve a 10-year term no matter what, and you can't get them off the board, there's no accountability there. And so that is why they can decide we're going to pay our executive more money than any executive of a parking authority anywhere in the country. That is why they can decide, no, we're not going to go to automation. We're not going to increase efficiency. We're not going to cut costs, because we want to be able to hire people to walk around, and for each one of those jobs, that gives us more power. If you can control somebody's job, you can control their actions. If you can say, look, I'll fire you and get this job to somebody else. Anybody could write a ticket, right? You control their actions. And if the people who have the jobs are connected to ward leaders, then you control what happens politically in the city. I mean, it's a sweet system, right? And so you really have to give some thought to how you attack that system. When the people are not accountable to you in terms of election, right? When they're not accountable to you in terms of whether you can get them off the board that makes the decisions around how the money is spent, it has to be a public pressure campaign, and the question is, how do you embark on something like that in the middle of a pandemic when people are in the house? So we got to give it some thought, and we're not going to, discuss the strategy on the radio, but I think that that's something that you have to think about. But first you have to understand what the system is, why the system has been intractable to this point, and then figure out where the pressure points are. So they giving our schools the crumbs, man. While they walk away with fat paychecks and the power to distribute jobs and control the actions of the folks who run the political process here in the city of Philadelphia. Oh, it's a sweet system. But I'm grateful that we understand how the system works. And then from there, you got to figure out what the pressure points are. I want to hear from you. Give me a call, 215-634-8065. We're going to go to break. On the other side, we're going to continue the show right here on WURD.
Internet Essentials from Comcast. High-speed home internet for low-income families for just $9.95 per month. Visit InternetEssentials.com to learn more.
Where can I get free testing for COVID-19?
Where can I get a free flu shot?
How can I get help with my utility payments?
So many questions, so little time.
Let Equally Informed Philly find the answers for you. Just text the phrase Equal Info to the number 73224. Again, text Equal Info, one word, to 73224.
Their community info line will get you the answers you need to survive and thrive through COVID-19. Equally Informed Philly, bridging the information divide for all Philadelphians.
This is not a fad for us.
We will not resume our regular programming when things die down. We're not black to help our bottom line or because it's politically correct. We're not joining a fight. This has been our fight, our message, our people. Black lives have always mattered here. We are
Undeniably,
indefatigably, unapologetically, permanently Black Talk Media.
WURD. Back by popular demand.
It's Wake Up with Word, hosted by Solomon Jones. Right now on Word Radio.
96.1 FM.
And 900 AM WURD.
Good morning. This is Solomon Jones on 900 AM, 96.1 FM, WURD, and we're taking your calls at 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That is the number you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD Radio. Let us know where you are on these various things we are talking about on this morning show, 215-634-8065. Of course, there are a number of things going on in and around the city and the country. One of the things that I'm interested in is the parking authority. Of course, we just had a conversation with City Controller Rebecca Reinhardt. Her office did an audit of the Philadelphia Parking Authority's parking revenue and operations and found that they bring in about $138 million. They give 16 to the school district. They give 35 to the city. And they pay their executive more than any other executive in other parking authorities around the country, more than most. And so there are some places where they could save money, but because of their system, right? They are not trying to use automation in order to save money, because that would mean fewer jobs, that would mean less patronage, that would mean less people who are politically connected that you can control. And so I want to know what you guys think. Give me a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That is the number you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD Radio. Let us know where you are on these various things we're talking about on this morning show. EP from Philly is on line one. Go ahead, EP.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
I enjoy listening to you guys, and whatever I could do to help out, to because these legislators need to be fired. And I drive back and forth from Ohio, and I noticed that PennDOT, too, they don't do nothing. They block the roads off, and these guys sit in the truck all day. We need to do something about all this stuff. We got to do whatever we got to do to make things happen, and I support you guys.
All right, thank you so much. I appreciate your call. I appreciate your call this morning on WURD. Let's go to Jim from West Philly on line 2. Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, I think it's amazing how the state has taken over so many of our things. They took over the convention center, the school district, parking authority. Why do we secede to the state to have control of these authorities and the largest county in the state that generates more money and revenue to the state than any other county? I mean, it's just like a big grab for that. And there's been enough victims of the parking authority. What about the people you see getting stopped and all their belongings out the car and the car's towed away? Then there's a ransom for the car. And if you don't have the ransom, they sell your car. They confiscate it and sell it. I don't even understand how they can legally do that, but they made up the laws to do that. So, yeah, you need some control. And if it wasn't for WURD and you, who would know about how all these things go? And I'd also like to see the city controller do an audit on the school district's budget to see where all of those contracts and where the money's gone because of the problem we had when you gave the black contractor a little video contract, the uproar over that. But what about where does the rest of the $3 billion go? I'd like to see a story done on that.
Mm-hmm. I hear you, Jim, and I want to thank you for your call this morning on WURD. Let's go to Muhammad from West Philly on line 3. Go ahead, Muhammad.
Hey, Solomon. Thank you and Quasa and the controller for raising this issue. I wrote a letter to my city council person last year raising some of these issues, but particularly zeroing in on the issue of who is it that gets to decide what I should pay, you know, in terms of the cost for the meters, and what penalty should be assigned to me, and what other punishments and sanctions, you know, I should have to endure, you know, as a citizen of the city. I don't have a say in that. They don't tell me, you know, they don't get our consent to decide what a fair meter cost is or what a fair penalty is. And in a pandemic time like this, I think we should be looking at a moratorium on these exorbitant, onerous fees that the people have to pay. I wrote Curtis Jones, and they suggested that I, give a testimony, you know, during a city council hearing, but I didn't have time because of my work schedule. It got passed off to his chief of staff or something like that, and it didn't really go anywhere. But we really have to find a way to bring this unwieldy, out of control, gluttonous money cash cow that they're taking and defrauding the everyday people of the city of their money. Whether the city controls the money and gives more crumbs to the school district, or whether the state, it's the people's money, and we should not be going for it.
All right, man, I want to thank you so much for your call this morning on WURD. Bahia from West Philly is on line 4. Go ahead, Bahia.
Good morning, Solomon. I love the show.
Thank you.
You're doing a good thing. I want to see how you go about, you know, doing that with the state, because that's so interesting to me. I always knew the state was trying to control Philadelphia. You can tell with some of the policies they have. Mm-hmm. And they're those same people, those legislators, the same people that signed Trump's thing letter so he can go to the Supreme Court.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's some same people. The state always tried to put that chokehold on Philadelphia.
Yep.
I'm like, I want to see how we can do that. I'm interested in that. I'm going to listen in. Thank you so much, Solomon. Have a good day.
All right, Bahia, I want to thank you so much for your call this morning on WURD Radio. Let's go to Hezekiah from East Oak Lane on line 1. Go ahead, Hezekiah.
Yes, how you doing today?
Good, and you?
Good. Yes, back in the 90s, I used to work for a major computer company, and traffic court was one of my accounts. I had found out that they had a lot of work going to Virginia, and a lot of the money went to Virginia. At that time, I believe Parking Authority was part of Traffic Court. But I'm not certain. This is the early 90s. And I asked them, why y'all sending all that money down there? They said, because they're part of the Commonwealth. So that's all I got to say.
I'm sorry. Wait a minute. What?
Yeah, because they are part of the Commonwealth. Virginia is part of the Commonwealth.
Virginia is its own commonwealth, and Pennsylvania is its own commonwealth.
Well, see, that's what I was told. But the
I
main
see.
thing is that they sent a lot of the money and work down to Virginia.
No, they did that. They did that because apparently they had somebody down there they wanted to hook up.
Yeah, dig it, man.
Just like any other time you do that.
Yeah, so I was just wondering if any of the other callers know if that's still going on and to what.
And who was sending the work down to Virginia, Hezekiah? What agency?
Our city government.
Was sending a lot of work down to Virginia from the city government.
From a traffic court.
Oh, from traffic court. Oh, okay.
Yeah. See, traffic court and the parking authority was the same at that time. They were together, and then they split.
I see.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I was wondering if that is still going on, so that might answer a lot of things for you.
But how? How would that answer it?
Well, as to if you know where some more of the money is going to. See, in other words, y'all don't know the whole story. That's what I'm trying to say. Anytime you try to find out something, there's always pieces of a puzzle. And if you throw out one of the pieces, you'll never find out the answer.
Okay, well, you can find out where the parking authority's money is going by reading the city controller's report. She just did a whole audit.
Yeah. Well, see, I don't believe nothing that they're saying. Just like when I was in Army intelligence during Vietnam, when we sent stuff home, the information home, and we got paper 2 weeks from the United States, they changed the whole story around. And I had the top secret clearance. That's why I'm like I am. So
Okay, all right. Well, that's fine, and I understand, and I want to thank you so much for your call this morning on WURD. What I do need y'all to understand is that the city controller is an elected position, and that whoever sits in that position is independent of city government. They are elected by the people, and so I just need y'all to understand that. Gary from Southwest is online too. Go ahead, Gary.
Hey, good morning, Solomon. I just wanted to say this issue with the parking authority and the city not getting its fair share of money, this has gone on through several city controllers. And my question is, why hasn't something been done when they've been neglecting our schools and our children? Why is that allowed to happen? That's what I don't understand. When this has been out there for years.
Mm-hmm.
And the business jobs, a lot of the people are Republicans.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them.
Mm-hmm. So I'll run through the system again. You have the state legislature picking who sits on the board of the parking authority. Most of the people in the state legislature are from other counties, and they are not elected by us. They're elected by the people in their respective counties. So we have no way of voting them out. So they decide, okay, well, here's the slate of people that we're going to give to the governor, and then the governor then decides who sits on that board, again, making the decisions around how the money is spent. That's what the board does. The governor then puts that person, puts people from that slate of people on the board of the parking authority, and they serve for 10-year terms. You can't get them out. So that's why this happens, because they don't work for us. They're controlled by the state, and the state decides who sits on that board, and therefore who decides how that money is spent.
Right. And Solomon, I understand that, but it has to be some recourse, because our children, our schools are being deprived of revenue from the taxes that we've paid into the city and to the parking authority. And it's criminal as far as I'm concerned. I worked for 2 city controllers. I used to audit that. So I know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But it's crazy. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. And I want to thank you for your call this morning on WURD radio. You know, people got to rise up. And the parking authority, I mean, it's a system. It's a system. Oh, y'all want some money for the school district? All right, here goes $16 million. Shut up. That might as well be what they're saying. That's a crumb, man. That's 11.59% of the $138 million. And I'm assuming that's just from the parking revenues. That doesn't count the other revenues that they bring in from the red light camera, because the controller, as she told us, didn't audit that part of it. But, it's like, what? Yo, man, it is a straight up system. And somebody brought it up earlier about how many aspects of Philadelphia government or Philadelphia agencies are taken over by the state. And you see that not just in government, but you see that in some other entities as well. Oh, we're going to take it over from the state level because Philadelphia shouldn't have that level of power. Meanwhile, Philadelphia is the driving force behind the financial well-being of this state. The money is made here. We got to do something about it. We're going to go to break. On the other side, we're going to talk with Dr. Tim Golden about that MAGA rally that took place over this weekend and what it could portend for the future. I'm Solomon Jones. We'll be right back.
What's up, Philly? It's Solomon Jones. The school year is underway, but never before has that experience come in so many shapes and sizes. Is the education of your child being left to a smattering of clumsy, in-person, and virtual instruction? The COVID-19 crisis has created a market for untested virtual teaching models lacking true credibility. Maybe it's time to reconsider and check out Commonwealth Charter Academy. Here are the benefits to your family. 1. An online education provided at no cost to you, complete with laptop, headset, and help with internet access. 2. Partnership with the market leader in cyber education with a nearly 20-year track record of world-class learning. 3. Delivery of a safe, reliable, and comfortable education experience over the internet directly to the confines of your living room. Visit ccaeducate.me today and discover the gold standard of cyber education. That's ccaeducate.me.
Keystone First VIP Choice HMO SNP Dual Eligible Special Needs Plan has a 4 out of 5 star rating and is one of the highest rated Medicare plans in the region. Keystone First VIP Choice and you are better together. If you live in Philadelphia, Bucks, Chester, Montgomery, or Delaware County, and you have both Medicare and Medicaid, choose the Medicare plan that is working to help you get better care. Enjoy extra benefits at no cost to you with Keystone First VIP Choice. You get benefits like dental, vision, and transportation to and from your medical appointments. They also cover a fitness membership to a gym of your choice. $150 toward over-the-counter pharmacy items. There's no copay for doctor's visits. They offer a large provider network, a great prescription plan, dental coverage, and even eyeglasses. Plus, you don't have to wait for open enrollment. You can change your coverage every quarter. Keystone First VIP Choice. The name you trust, the service you deserve. Call Keystone First VIP Choice today at 1-877-686-1760 or visit KeystoneFirstVIPChoice.com. The onWURD Podcast. Check out the onWURD 2020 in Black podcast series. Available now on your favorite podcast app or visit wordradio.com/2020 in black. You can also ask your favorite device to play onWURD 2020 in black. Lifting every voice
till earth and heaven ring.
This is WURD Radio. 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia.
Black Talk Media. Backed by popular demand.
It's Wake Up with WURD, hosted by Solomon Jones. Right now on WURD Radio.
96.1 FM
and 900 AM WURD.
Good morning. This is Solomon Jones on 900 AM, 96.1 FM, WURD. And joining us now is Dr. Tim Golden. He's professor of philosophy, legal studies program coordinator, and director of the Donald Blake Center for the Study of Race, Ethnicity, and Culture at Walla Walla University. For 20 years, he was a criminal defense attorney in Philadelphia and in the federal courts. Tim, good morning.
Good morning, Solomon. Thanks for having me on today.
Yo, it's a pleasure, man. So, all right, first things first, Jalen Hurts, your thoughts?
Hurts so good. I've been waiting to say that all season long. I thought to myself, if I was an editor at the Philadelphia Daily News or the Inquirer, what would be my headline today in the sports section? And it would be those three words. Hurts
Love
so
it.
good. Wow. What a performance.
Yeah.
By the young fella yesterday. It was really a joy to see him come in and play so well and really just uplifted the whole team. I mean, I haven't seen the defense play that fierce all season. So it was really good to see him get in there and do his thing. It was a joy to watch, man. I think I might, a couple more games like that, and I might start calling them the Eagles again instead of the Beagles.
Yeah, man, they're going to need a couple more.
You're going to need a few more games like that. But yesterday was impressive for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy for him, and it's a good thing to see. So I want to talk about the MAGA march that took place in Washington, D.C. this weekend. Protesting the results of the presidential election. That march devolved into racism and violence. The Proud Boys were in attendance, and some Black Lives Matter signs were burned on a church. When counter-protesters showed up, people were stabbed. And I guess my question to you is this a sign of things to come?
Solomon, I hope not. I hope that it is a sign of things that are fading away. As I saw the headlines over the weekend, and I read the news stories over the weekend about that march in D.C., all I could think to myself was that, number one, it's the president's recalcitrance that is causing this. As he has done time and again throughout his presidency, President Trump has set the tone for a level of racial violence that has seemed to take over this past weekend. And my hope is that rather than being a harbinger of things to come, that it's actually a sign of a frustrated, disgruntled president that is fading away, that him and his narrative, him and his sort of anti-American or pro-American, depending on how you look at it, his pro-American or pro-white American narrative, you hope, is dying out, and that what we saw this weekend are the final embers of a flame that will hopefully extinguish soon when Joe Biden becomes president of the United States. Now, that does not mean that racism will go away. But what it does mean is that hopefully what we saw over the weekend will be less and less frequent of an occurrence, and that some of our social and political norms, some of our civility will be restored. That doesn't mean that racism is over, but it does mean that we can get back to certain basic norms like truth, right? Like who really won the election? Maybe we can begin to reset the baseline for our discourse so that this type of thing won't happen anymore. Again, it doesn't mean that racism will go away, but it does mean that hopefully incidents like what we saw this weekend are a thing of the past, or at least these incidents are relegated to the periphery of American politics instead of surging their way into the mainstream.
Yeah. We're talking with lawyer and critical race theorist Dr. Tim Golden about the happenings in Washington, D.C. over the course of this weekend. And it's funny, you talked about the president's recalcitrance, his stubbornness, his refusal to really just do what's right as right. being an impetus for this. And one of the things that happened was he flew over that whole thing in Marine One, which is the helicopter that the president uses. What did you think about that, Tim?
Solomon, the president has, I don't know, I think a lot of people will remember this. Over the summer, the president enlisted, excuse me, the president enlisted the military to remove protesters from that same area so that he could have a photo op standing in front of a church holding a Bible. Ironically, holding the Bible upside down. That was very significant. And he's standing in front of a church holding a Bible. So he told the Proud Boys during one of the presidential debates to stand down and stand by. So, and the Proud Boys were involved in this nonsense over the weekend. So the fact that he would fly over in Marine One and sort of behold this sends a message to me, at least, that this is the kind of country that President Trump has presided over. If we take his flyover in Marine One to be a metaphor of his presidency, then what we see is that he has presided, the root word for president, right, to preside, he has presided over this kind of vitriolic racism that is reactionary, that is not rooted in reality, and all of this is his legacy. You know, Solomon, ironically, as badly as the president is leaving office, he actually had an opportunity to be president after this election for at least a couple of months on his way out. And he had a chance, given the vaccine, given the need for this legislation, this new relief package for Americans. A lot of people are going to be facing eviction come the end of this month. He could have done a lot to get that done. He could have done a number of things to help facilitate the vaccine rollout and so forth. And he could have left office actually somewhat respectably. Yeah. But now what he's done is he has ensured that his legacy will be what we saw over the weekend and what we witnessed in that flyover. His legacy will be a legacy of racial violence that, frankly, is grounded in lies and confusion. And this has been the way he has governed. And so it's not surprising to see him leave office on a racist lie since he made his political ascendancy on a racist lie, that President Obama was not eligible to be president because he wasn't born in the United States. So it's almost as though his presidency has come full circle, and he's destined to leave office in this way because this is how this president behaves. And as unfortunate as it is that it's happening, I guess the best part is that it's about to come to an end in just a little over a month.
Yeah, thankfully, and we're grateful for that. I also want to talk about Georgia because Stacey Abrams, a huge figure, I think, in Georgia and really nationally at this point, given what happened in her bid to become the governor of Georgia. So now she's pushing back against the notion that Donald Trump's refusal to concede the presidential election is just like her refusal to concede in the Georgia governor's race. Are they the same, Tim?
No, Solomon, they're not the same, not at all. if you remember a couple of years ago, now almost 3 years ago, it's hard to believe time has gone so fast. I remember doing an interview with you in 2018 about a Supreme Court decision out of Ohio that dealt with the problem of states who were purging their voting registration rolls based on the fact that people hadn't voted. There are a couple of federal laws that prohibit that, and so there was a lawsuit, and it got up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court of the United States in a 5-4 decision in June of 2018, this is the year leading up to the gubernatorial race in Georgia, the Supreme Court ruled that states can actually purge their voter rolls if people don't vote, because in Ohio, it wasn't their failure to vote that triggered them being purged. It was their failure to return a card in the mail confirming their current address. That was the theory in the Supreme Court decision. And so that gave the green light for states to set up purging statutes for their voting rolls, and Georgia was one of those states. What Stacey Abrams argued, well, first of all, the election between Stacey Abrams and Brian Kemp in Georgia was much closer, right? And the election, in terms of actual votes, was much closer than that between President Trump and Joe Biden. So what ended up happening was when Stacey Abrams' attorneys went to court in Georgia to argue that she should have won the election, they were arguing that people were disenfranchised before they even had a chance to vote. President Trump is arguing that people who legally voted should have their votes discounted. That's a huge difference. That's a very big difference, right? Stacey Abrams was arguing, listen, you can't purge people from the voter rolls because when you do that, you're disenfranchising large members of the Georgia population who will never even have the opportunity to cast a vote, and most of those people are from demographics that are likely to vote for me. And so that was her argument. So her situation is very different from President Trump's. She was arguing that folks were disenfranchised because they couldn't vote at all, whereas Trump is arguing that people who voted legitimately should not have their votes counted. Those are two very different things.
And the interesting thing in the election that Stacey Abrams lost was that she was running against the guy who was running the election system. He was a Secretary of State at the same time that he was running for governor. So he was the guy who purged the voter rolls, who shut down polling places, who disenfranchised all these people so that he could win the election.
Yes, and for him to say, because the discussion that we're having comes from a comparison that he's drawing between President Trump's behavior now and Stacey Abrams' behavior over 2 years ago. And so it's ironic that he would do that because let's be real, there's some other obvious differences, Solomon. Stacey Abrams eventually conceded because she understood that she had lost the election. So she just sort of gave it up. Stacey Abrams did what we would hope Americans do when they're not successful politically, which is say, okay, I lost the election. What can I do to make things better? And all she did over the past couple of years was organize politically and organize some more and get people registered to vote to the point where the state of Georgia has now flipped to blue. And so when you contrast that kind of reaction and that kind of response to losing with President Trump's response to losing, which is to hold on to a false reality and to tacitly encourage the kind of violence that we saw over the weekend, that's not organizing. That's not registering people to vote. That's not restoring any faith or bolstering faith in the American democratic process. Those two things are very different. So the Stacey Abrams-Donald Trump comparison is a bad one unless you're comparing how someone should react to a loss, and you're comparing the difference between arguing that people were never allowed to vote in the first place versus people should not have their legitimate votes counted. Those two scenarios are light years apart.
Yeah, absolutely. We're talking with lawyer and critical race theorist Dr. Tim Golden about the president's refusal to concede and the Republican strategy, it seems, of comparing his actions to those of Stacey Abrams in the Georgia gubernatorial race that she lost to Brian Kemp a couple of years ago. Stacey Abrams is somebody who is going to play and who's already playing a big role in these two runoff election that's taking place in January for 2 Senate seats that will decide the balance of power in the United States Senate. Do you see this this comparison of Stacey Abrams to Donald Trump as an attempt to try to discredit her somehow?
Of course. I think so. I think that's sort of what's happening. Brian Kemp finds himself in a difficult situation because on one hand, he wants to defeat the Stacey Abrams coalition. Here's what's interesting, Solomon. This Senate runoff race, right, that will basically decide, that will go a long way toward deciding the fate of President-elect Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris's legislative agenda, is really a way for Stacey Abrams to sort of, I don't want to say, it's a bad word to say revenge, right? But this is almost like a second governor's race, in a sense, because the state of Georgia will be under the control of political forces that are the opposite of what Brian Kemp would like to see. So this is almost like a second governor's race between Kemp and Abrams. And it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. But this is definitely an attempt to discredit Abrams, but Kemp has to be careful, because if you want to discredit Abrams, because his attempt to discredit Abrams is simultaneously a discrediting of the leader of his own party, who he needs in order to get the votes necessary to win the runoff election. So Kemp is in a difficult position, because if you want to undermine Abrams by comparing her to Trump, which is what he's doing, he's arguably hurting himself as much as he's hurting Stacey Abrams. So this is the kind of rhetorical dancing and political gymnastics that has to be performed, because the Republican Party is now the party of Trump, like it or not. And so Kemp finds himself in a difficult situation, and he's probably going to, or he's definitely positioned to lose this second governor's race. So in the end, his victory in Georgia could turn out to be a Pyrrhic one. It could turn out to be one in which he has to undermine himself in order to beat his opponent. And that's an interesting conundrum he finds himself in.
All right. That is lawyer and critical race theorist Dr. Tim Golden. He's professor of philosophy, legal studies program coordinator, and director of the Donald Blake Center for the Study of Race, Ethnicity, and Culture at Walla Walla University. For 20 years, he was a criminal defense attorney in Philadelphia and in the federal courts. Tim, thanks so much.
Thanks for having me, Solomon. Have a great day.
All right, you too. We're going to go to break. On the other side, we're going to take your calls at 215-634-8065. I'm Solomon Jones. We'll be right back.
Dietz & Watson has been making premium meats and artisan cheeses for over 80 years. And when it comes to stacking sandwiches and party platters, they've got something for everyone in the family, like maple honey turkey breast, American cheese, buffalo chicken, and more. So get to your local deli and taste 4 generations of family recipes. With Dietz & Watson on the table, you'll have everyone coming back for seconds and thirds. Dietz & Watson, it's a family thing since 1939.
Hi, this is Jeff Brown from Brown's Family ShopRites and Fresh Grocers. Are you thinking about a part-time job to help out with the cost of the holidays? We have plenty of openings. You can apply online at shoprite.com/careers or freshgrocer.com/careers. Come join the Brown family today and help us serve the people of Philadelphia. Have a great holiday.
WURD Radio presents the following wellness tip to support our listeners with mindfulness and motivation as we continue to navigate the pandemic together.
Hi, this is Halana, your resident health and wellness coach, with tips to help you stay well. By definition, inspiration is something that gives us new and creative ideas. We often believe that we only need inspiration when we have a goal or a project in mind. However, getting inspired can be easy with a little practice. Try this. Number 1, write down exactly what you truly desire in your life. Number 2, think about solutions to hurdles and challenges you face. Number 3, think about the next best step in your current situation. Staying inspired requires thought, intention, and space to be creative. In fact, allowing inspiration to be present in our lives is something we can practice every day. Go ahead and try. Stay well with WURD. Happy living.
Stay well with WURD. Connect with us at wordradio.com.
This message is from the Philadelphia Department of Public Health. COVID-19 is still a threat in our communities, but we can all do something simple to help stop the spread. It's critically important to wear a mask or face covering whenever you're in public or around others. Yes, even while social distancing. Wearing a mask shows you care for yourself and your community and is essential to slowing the spread of COVID-19. So love yourself, love your neighbors, wear a mask.
It's Wake Up with WURD, hosted by Solomon Jones.
Good morning.
Right now on WURD Radio.
96.1 FM.
And 900 AM WURD.
Good morning. This is Solomon Jones on 900 AM, 96.1 FM, WURD, and I want to welcome you back to Wake Up with WURD, and I want to remind you that if you want to buy black for the holidays, we've got you covered. WURD Radio is proud to present our virtual holiday marketplace online. Support local, small, black-owned businesses through the marketplace and purchase your holiday gifts today. Go to wordradio.com/marketplace or wordworks.com/marketplace. So we want to hear from you. Give us a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That is the number you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD Radio. Let us know where you are on these various things we are talking about on this morning's show, including our top 3 stories, which are story number 1, the members of the Electoral College are going to gather in their respective states today to cast their official ballots for president. Ordinarily, it's little more than a formality, but not this year. President Trump and his allies pressured Republican officials to ignore the popular vote, but guess what? They're going to vote you out anyway. That's going to happen today. Story number 2, a vaccine kit sent to the wrong state. A hospital system in California expecting powder vaccines instead of frozen vials. Tens of thousands of people expect to get vaccinated in the coming weeks when in reality, they're going to have to wait for months. So there's a little bit of confusion around the rollout of the coronavirus vaccine, but that's to be expected given that it's moved so fast. But today, those vaccines will be delivered to various places across the United States. Philadelphia expected to start distributing theirs tomorrow, and they're going to go to hospital workers and others who are impacted by this first. And I want to know what you think about that. Give us a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. And, of course, story number 3, my commentary for the day. By 5 p.m. today, the Electoral College votes will be in and will be one step closer to Joe Biden becoming president on January 20th. But if Saturday was a sign of what's to come, we could be headed for trouble. In Washington this weekend, thousands of people, many from the racist group, the Proud Boys, protested the results of the election. Speakers yelled about the Supreme Court, which last week refused to hear another one of Trump's ridiculous election lawsuits. They rallied against Joe Biden for winning by more than 7 million votes. They even expressed their hate for a conservative media outlet, Fox News, for not being biased enough. Pretty soon, Black Lives Matter counter-protesters showed up. So did Antifa. And at first, the cops were able to keep the groups apart, but by nightfall, some people got past the lines of police. At least 4 people were stabbed. 33 more were arrested. If Joe Biden is going to bring this country together, he has to deal with the terrorist threat of white supremacists, because if we want to build this country up, we can't let them burn it down. I want to hear from you. Give me a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That is the number you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD. Gary from Philly is on line 1. Go ahead, Gary.
Good morning. Good morning, Solomon and
Good morning.
Quasar and WURD family. This racist thing goes back to the Catholic Church with the white Christ and all that. So I don't know if they have to change that around, and I don't know that. I don't see that happening. So basically, it has this.
I mean, I think the Catholic Church. I think that. Yeah. Here's what I would say. I would say that there are a number of institutions that go back, hundreds or even thousands of years that are responsible for racism, but to just put it on one, I don't think it's fair.
Yeah, okay. Well, not to put it on one, but just to mention that particular one. And then now about this Proud Boys, what are they supposed to be so proud about, what they're doing, causing the country to be divided as far as attached with the racism. So what is next, after this Electoral College? What is their next move? I mean, the judges have already told number 45 that he's lost, even people that he put in office.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Come on.
True.
So is this like a Caesar moment for him at two Brutus? And then the other thing is, I noticed that I was reading the Amsterdam News, if I can mention it anyhow. Kevin Parker, one of the state reps there, assemblyman there, he's putting forth a bill that's called a public health crisis for racism. And would you consider that being a public health crisis, racism?
Yes. And I think that COVID-19 points to that. And it's funny because we just talked about that maybe on Friday, that the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, did an internal report that basically found that racism has made the results and outcomes for Black people worse when it comes to this pandemic. The lack of access to quality medical care, the pre-existing conditions that we have, the comorbidities like high blood pressure and heart disease and other things that are exacerbated by, made worse by racism. So yes, racism is a public health crisis because it creates worse health outcomes for Black people.
Okay, the name of the bill is called S8673A, and it's put forth by Kevin Parker in New York. Bill number S as in Sam, 8673A as in Apple.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for your call this morning on WURD. Madeline Dunn, Miss Dunn from Overbrook is on line 2. Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. You got me so fast, I didn't turn the radio off yet.
Okay.
While I'm on my way to doing that, thanks for you for taking my call, number one. Number two, the program has been outstanding.
Thank you.
I don't call as much because I know I'm going to get on. If I do, you might cut me off. But I'll get to the main point. So I'm going to try to get to the main point right away on this one. That bill that you just mentioned, when Kevin Parker from New York, we need to call our state reps and see who's going to repeat it down here in Philadelphia, because what they do up there don't help us unless we get on board. And number one. And number two, what's going on in Georgia is still our promised land for all of those that don't have. Let's be clear. Those of you I know who, let's say, overcomes salaries over 100,000 and all that kind of stuff, you don't have to worry about it. But we need to worry about it for those who don't have. And the way they have cut off, shut hospitals down, they've shut them even down here in Philly. They've shut them down worse than Alabama, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina. We need to look out for our brothers and sisters. That's been the whole thing. We standing on each other's shoulders. We got to pull everybody along. If you call anybody you know in Georgia and just tell them, please, please, I know you're going to vote anyway, but I just want to encourage you more, because this is our opportunity that we get some bills passed that we haven't been able to get passed in a lot of years, since 1970, when the Republicans decided they was going to get the Senate of every state, the Senate across the United States. We've been having a hard time, and I mean a real hard time, and it's gotten worse. Come on, folks. Let's just dig in with the prayers, dig in with calling each other, and letting each other know we love and we care about you. We need that. Solomon, thank you so very much.
You are so welcome, and thank you so much for your call this morning on WURD. Let's go to Steve from Fern Rock on line 3. Go ahead, Steve.
Hey, Solomon, I was just wondering, the vaccine. I have sinuses, I have stuffy nose and stuff like that, right? Is it safe to take that, man? Because a lot of people saying I got existing stuff like sinuses and stuff like that, and they ain't trying to take it. Will it hurt me?
Well, I think that, honestly, we're going to be talking with the twin doctors tomorrow, and they are better positioned to talk about that than I am. And that's the reason why I have them on, man, so we can have some trusted voices, some black physicians talking about what the vaccine is, what the risks are, what the side effects are, and whether or not this is something that we should take. But from what I have seen and from what I have heard around this vaccine, it has, some minimal side effects that last maybe a day, but beyond that it is overwhelmingly effective in shortening the duration of a COVID-19 infection if you have it, and keeping people from getting it in the first place. So from what I have seen and heard from the doctors, the black doctors that I have talked to about it, it is something that has, minimal side effects, and but I would rather, you hear that from them. And so make sure you tune in tomorrow, because they're going to be talking about that tomorrow.
All right, thanks, Solomon. I appreciate it.
All right. No problem at all. And thank you for your call this morning on WURD Radio. Let's go to Tony from North Philly on line 1. Go ahead, Tony.
Good morning, Solomon. Thanks for taking my call, and good morning, Clarissa. I was just watching MSNBC about 10 minutes ago, and Cuomo was showing the first healthcare worker that received the vaccine. It was a historic moment because she's the first one in the United States. And she's an Afro-American woman, and she said, I'm quoting her, she encouraged us to take it.
Yeah.
Thanks for taking my call.
Yep. You are so welcome, and thank you for your call this morning on WURD Radio. Again, they did trials, man, with tens of thousands of people. And what they found was that this thing was over 90% effective. What they also found was that the side effects were minimal, and the duration of the side effects were about a day. And so those side effects are like, cold-like symptoms for a day, a headache or something, that you might experience, but nothing major, nothing life-threatening. And again, I want to make sure that
we have the twin docs, Dr. Wardlaw and Dr. McDonald, explain to you from a medical perspective what this vaccine is, and what the risks are and what the benefits are. That's why we've had them on every week. That's why I made that commitment to do that, because I wanted you to hear from trusted voices, Black doctors in our community who weren't going to be giving you a bunch of nonsense. You know, I thought that was important, and I still think it's important. And I've learned so much from them, which is why, you know, I can say, you know, that I know that based on the trials that they did, that they went through 3 stages in terms of a trial. That tens of thousands of people, you know, were part of that trial, and that the side effects were minimal. And so, you know, I will probably eventually take the vaccine, but we're not going to get it right now anyway. It's going to go first to the medical care workers, and people who are in long-term care facilities and the people who work in those facilities, because those are the groups that are most at risk. Now, Black folks, of course, are at risk as well from this virus. And so, you know, when the time comes, I will probably take the vaccine. So, you know, you make of that what you will, but if you trust what I say to you every day, then that is what I am going to do. And you can act from there. So I want to hear from you. Give me a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That is the number you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD. But here's the other thing I think. I think that for those of us who are skeptical, the wait is good, because then you can see what happens with other people who take it. And you know, I think in many ways, the wait to get the vaccine is a plus. What do you think, Kwesa? Kwesa must be answering the phone. Okay, so 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That is the number that you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD Radio. Let us know where you are on these various things we are talking about on this morning show, 215-634-8065. You can also, of course, weigh in on Facebook at 4WURD. That's FORWURD. That's FORWURD. That's where you can weigh in and let us know where you are on these various things we're talking about on this morning show. Kwesa, I was asking, you know, about the wait. I think that the wait is a positive, because it gives people a chance to kind of sit back, lay in the cut, see what's happening with other folks, and deal with some of the rightful skepticism that we have in our community. What do you think?
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. I'm cool with the wait. Like, I don't need to, you know, I don't want to volunteer as tribute. Like, I'll wait and see, you know, if people, like I said before, you know, grow an extra toe or, you know, something crazy, you know, and then I'll make my decision on what I need to do. I'm not against vaccines. I'm really not, but I think that, you know, I also have to recognize the fact that, just like a lot of our listeners, I am skeptical of certain things, you know, and so I just want to make sure that everyone is safe. But I do appreciate the fact that, you know, we do have so many Black doctors who weigh in on the show, who weigh in with the station, and they are, you know, always kind of giving that the information and necessary tools that we need in order to be safe. So I do trust them. I trust what they are saying to us, and you know, I will make sure that I include that in my decision when it's time for me to go ahead and get this vaccine. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep. 215-634-8065 is the number you can call to get in. You can also weigh in on Facebook at 4WURD. On the other side, it's What's Trending, and then right back to your calls. I'm Solomon Jones. We'll be right back.
Seniors, does your doctor regularly reach out to check on you? Can you walk into your doctor's office and see them if you need to? Do you have your doctor's cell phone number, and can you call them anytime, day or night? At Dedicated Senior Medical Center, their only specialty is caring for seniors. Dedicated makes it easy to get the primary care you deserve. Doctors spend more time with patients than the doctors you may be used to. They offer telehealth visits, help you get your medications, and even make sure you get to your appointments. If your doctor isn't treating you like family, it's time to say yes to Dedicated Senior Medical Center. Call Dedicated Senior Medical Center today to schedule a visit and find out what you're missing. Call 267-443-1900. That's 267-443-1900. Appointments are available now.
With Internet Essentials from Comcast for only $9.95 a month, you get more. High-speed home internet service, included. Peace of mind with XFi Advanced Security, included. Access to millions of XFi Wi-Fi hotspots, that's included too. Internet Essentials from Comcast brings you affordable, high-speed internet to your home for only $9.95 a month. When you're connected, you're ready for anything. Visit InternetEssentials.com for more information. Taxes extra. Restrictions apply.
Monday through Thursday, keep it locked to WURD Radio. At 6 a.m., start your day with the Power Hour, hosted by Bishop Dwayne Royster and Reverend Mark Kelly Tyler. At 7, it's Wake Up with WURD with Solomon Jones. At 10 a.m., it's Reality Check with Charles Ellison. Then at 1 p.m., it's The Source, hosted by Andrea Lawful Sanders on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, and the Black Women's Leadership Council on Wednesdays. At 4 p.m., it's Evening Words with Nick Taliaferro. Then at 7, it's Save Space with Sincerely Sarita. At 9 p.m., round up your day with Keeping It Real with the Reverend Al Sharpton. Keep your dial locked to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app. Or watch live on WURD TV via Facebook and YouTube. WURD Radio. Independent Black Media. He's back.
This is Reverend Al Sharpton.
Keeping it real with the Reverend Al Sharpton.
In times like these, we have to stay connected.
At a brand new time, Monday through Thursday, 9 p.m. till midnight.
I'm excited that Keeping It Real returns to WURD.
Keeping it real with the Reverend Al Sharpton. Monday through Thursday, 9 p.m. till midnight. This program is pre-recorded. No phone calls, please.
Keep it locked to WURD 96.1 FM, 900 AM, WURDradio.com.
You're waking up with WURD, hosted by Solomon Jones. Good morning. Right now on WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Circuits are busy. Here's what's trending. Yo, that's crazy. On Wake Up with WURD.
The much-anticipated Versus with Keisha Cole and Ashanti was postponed over the weekend after Ashanti tested positive for the coronavirus. Ashanti announced her diagnosis hours before her scheduled appearance. Fans will now have to wait until January 9th of next year to see the two hitmakers take the stage together.
And sad news, country music legend Charlie Pride died Saturday at age 86. A representative announced Pride died in Dallas of complications from COVID-19. His baritone voice was featured on more than 50 top 10 country hits, and he was the first black member of the Country Music Hall of Fame.
And also sad news, late last week, actress Carol Sutton, who made appearances in Steel Magnolias and Queen Sugar, died of complications from COVID-19. She was 76. She made her on-screen debut with the autobiography of Miss Jane Pittman and starred in theater productions such as A Raisin in the Sun, and that is what's trending.
All right, so that's what's trending right here on WURD Radio. Again, this thing is serious, man. This thing is taking our people out of here, and especially our seniors. And we certainly wish a speedy recovery to Ashanti because we need to see that Versus. So who you got in that Versus? Ashanti versus Keisha Cole. So who you got?
You know what? I'm going to go with Ashanti. I think that, and it's no shade to Keisha Cole. I think that they're pretty much kind of in the same lane. I know more Ashanti songs than Keisha Cole. So that's why I'm going with Ashanti. But, yeah, I'll go with Ashanti.
Yeah. Okay. All right. See, I need to see. I don't know enough about them to really say who I got. I want to see some people from my era, and you know, Kawais, I'm getting, a little bit older. Not old, but older.
So who would you want to see on the Versus?
I definitely want to see Stephanie Mills.
Okay.
And maybe versus somebody like, oh God, who could even get with her during that? Because Stephanie Mills could sing, man.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, the thing with her is that she wouldn't be a thing today because she didn't have the right look. Stephanie Mills was very, very short, and dark skinned. And, you know, she just didn't look like somebody like Ashanti or Keisha Cole. Like, they kind of look the same, kind of sound the same. Like, you know what I mean? Like, she wouldn't be the same type of star today as she was in her day. I'm trying to think of somebody who's comparable to her during her time. And you had singers that had, like, different sounds. Like, Stephanie Mills was out, and I would think of somebody like Angela Bofill, but Angela Bofill had a different type of sound. She wasn't even the same type of singer.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You had people who were different in terms of their sound, in terms of how they looked, in terms of their presentation, and the thing that mattered most was, can you sing? And I just don't know if it's still the same now. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that you might be right about that. I don't know. Like, I think that one matchup I think that I would like to see maybe would be Anita Baker and Sade. Like, I don't know if that would even work though, because they're both incredible, you know, musicians and entertainers and singers, but do they have the same type of music style? No, they really don't. And you know, when you talk about, like, you know, just the fact that Stephanie Mills didn't have, you know, the look, I also kind of think, because I feel like Anita Baker is amazing, and I don't think that she got as much shine as she should have because of the fact that she is, yes, a brown-skinned sister, and, you know, Sade is not as brown-skinned. And so, you know, there's so many ways to look at this, but I think that you're right. I think that it maybe, you know, some of what we would want to see might not even, you know, transcend right on current platforms, because it's just not. It's just not how it. I don't know. I think you're right though.
You could have different styles, like right up through the '80s, and maybe into part of the '90s. You could have different styles and appeal to different audiences, and still be a star in your own right. Whereas now, I think things, especially in R&B, are a little bit more condensed in terms of style, in terms of presentation, and in terms of look. They are looking for a certain look, they are looking for a certain presentation, and they are looking for a certain style. And if you don't fit into that, then you can still have, you know, your audience, but they are not going to market you for a mass audience, if that makes sense.
It does. It definitely does make sense, because I look at people like a Jasmine Sullivan or even a Jennifer Hudson, and they don't know how to market them. There's no reason why two women who have spectacular voices are not able to make as much of a dent in the music industry. I mean, for me growing up, you know, I was able to, you know, understand the fact that you had so many diverse musicians, and then, you know, so you're right, somewhere, you know, I don't know if it was like the late 90s or 2000s, maybe it was the 2000s, where people started having to fit into this box and this mold, and so that's why I think the Versus has been so successful, because you had all these people who were kind of forced into a niche. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But the thing that I think creates opportunity, and I tell this to young people all the time when I speak to them, is like, no, you're going to decide how your industry goes forward from here. Because the technology creates opportunities for you to circumvent that system, right? You can reach a mass audience on your own if the product is good enough. You know, through online marketing, through online opportunities, you know, you can do that for yourself. You don't need the record industry, or, you know, in my case, you know, journalism, the journalism industry, or any of that, to really promote your work. You can do it on your own if you're savvy enough. And so now, even though you might not fit into the mold of the record company and what they want, you can make your own. You know what I mean? Because you have a distribution system in the internet that allows you to do that. So that's what I'm looking for next. I'm looking for people who can find their own path towards stardom by using the technology that allows them to kind of get around that system.
Yeah, I think that you're absolutely correct. I mean, I think that, you know, we are at an age now where you can really kind of make your own path, make your own way, and set yourself up so that, you know, you can get dispersed in those different types of markets. So I think that you're absolutely correct with that. You don't need the record industry anymore to you know, raise awareness on your platform, whatever it might be.
Mm-hmm. So I want to hear from you. Give us a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That is the number you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD. Because, Kawais, I'm waiting for your album to come out. That's what I'm waiting for. So I can go ahead and buy that.
One day, maybe.
All right. All right. That's what I'm waiting for.
All right. I'll work on it.
Okay. That's what I'm talking about. Let's go to Onita from West Oak Lane on line 1. Go ahead, Onita.
Good morning, Solomon and WURD family. I have a few things to say, and then I'll hang up and listen. Over in the UK, they were saying, I don't know if they tested people with HIV, or they were saying that it could open you up to HIV. I'm not quite sure how that went.
What could open you up to HIV?
With the virus, with the vaccine. I'm not sure exactly how they said it, but you can look it up. And another thing, what about
who said that?
This was on. This was what the UK has said. They came out and said that they had to halt it for a while to find out what was going on for us. I don't know if they tested the HIV people and something happened. So I'm not sure about it. I was trying to look it up, but I didn't have time because I was at work. And another thing, I don't hear the doctors saying anything about whether it prevent or help prevent women from getting pregnant, or would it hurt men for for having babies or something like that. I don't hear anything about that. And another thing is that.
All right, wait a minute, because you're making a whole lot of statements. So the first thing that you were talking about was UK. About an Australia. No, it's in Australia.
Oh, okay. Okay.
An Australian COVID vaccine, which is different from the vaccines that we have here.
Sure. Okay.
They had a trial in Australia, and that they had to stop the trial because the trial was bringing back false positives for HIV for people in Australia. They weren't getting HIV from the vaccine.
No, I'm not
they were getting that. Wait, let me finish.
Okay.
They were getting false positive tests in Australia for a different vaccine than the one that is here. And so that's what you saw.
Oh, okay. And I don't hear them saying anything about like sex. If I want, well, not me, want to have babies or anything, would that affect? Because I don't hear them going like deep down into detail. They just really talking about the surface of the vaccine. You know, could it hurt a woman that wants to get pregnant? Could it hurt a man? You know, keep him from having babies. And I heard also. I read also about this African woman in Africa where she supposed to have cured cancer in a mice, but I'm not quite sure about that. I'm still looking into that.
All right, well, let's make sure we're sure about it, right? So I'm going to look that up. But in terms of your question about pregnant women and the reproductive repercussions of the vaccine, I'll ask the doctors tomorrow. So make sure you tune in at 7:40 a.m. tomorrow. So we could talk about that, okay? So thank you for your call this morning on WURD. Wonder from Media is on line 2. Go ahead, Wonder.
Yeah, Solomon, always good to talk to you.
Good to talk to you.
I know there's a lot of skepticism about it, but I am on a pacemaker, and I take blood thinners.
Yes.
So I would do better taking the shot, I see, than going to a respirator in the hospital for catching the virus, because I need a surgery on my hip. I'm kind of holding up on that.
We're going to talk to the doctors tomorrow, and y'all can ask all of y'all questions tomorrow. Be on at 7:40 to ask all of your questions about the vaccine to the doctors, because I don't know the answers to all of these things, and I don't want to give you the wrong information. But, Wonder, I want to thank you for your call. Gwen from West Philly is on line 3. Go ahead, Gwen.
Yes. Good morning, Solomon.
Please excuse my voice. I have allergies, and I'm trying to work with that. But it's one thing that you said much earlier, and I just wanted to bring this to everybody's attention. I remember Dr. King had said years and years ago, because I'm a senior citizen, and he said, "You may be my color, but you're not my kind."
How about that?
You know what I'm saying? And I thought that was super deep because there were some people who were Caucasians, who were Asians, you know what I mean, who was out there marching, getting beat up, getting jailed. So that's one thing that we have to remember.
Yeah.
Because I heard what you said, and I understood perfectly what you were saying. But Dr. King said, "You may be my color, but you're not my kind."
I know that's right. I want to thank you so much for your call this morning. Let's get Yusef from Swedesboro very quickly. Go ahead, Yusef. You got about 30 seconds.
All right. Good morning, Solomon.
Good morning.
You just mentioned that versus thing, and one person you forgot when you were talking about Stephanie Mills, West Philly's Evelyn Champagne King. I would put those two up together.
Yeah. That's good. That's good.
The last thing, you mentioned Kawesa had an album. You can be her manager. I can get her on tours in Europe.
There you go. Let's have it. Let's have it. Kawesa, are you ready?
I'm ready. I'm so ready.
Let's do it. Let's do it. That's going to do it for today's show right here on WURD Radio. I want to thank our guest, Dr. Tim Golden, and City Controller Rebecca Reinhardt. And as always, I want to thank you. And now, for super producer Kawesa Mathis and everyone here at WURD Radio, I am your host, Solomon Jones, saying stay tuned for Reality Check with Charles Ellison. And tune in tomorrow at 7 for more. Wake up with Word. Peace.